Now, as a link prospector, the reason why you might want to use this tool is because usually as a prospector, you're starting with a big list of URLs. Maybe you have 100 URLs that you need to review. Maybe you have 1,000. And what this tool does, it allows you to do bulk actions, but in a fine-tuned manner. So you're able to do 8 different actions here. I've created this document of tutorials, a step-by-step guide, and it shows you all the various things and filters you can use to, if you're trying to get guest posts, if you're trying to do link insertions, if you're trying to get in touch with bloggers, usually link lists, they have lots of links that are not actually blogs, like their forums, their directories, their spam sites, their Web 2.0s. They're just sites that you shouldn't reach out to. And instead of manually one by one going through each opportunity, you can instead filter at least 40% of the URLs out within just a couple minutes using this tool. So this tool is going to be a tutorial to show you how to apply best practices. So you start with opening this page and you can paste in your URL list. This is a URL list of articles that contain SEO tips in the title or URL. Okay. My goal for this campaign is I want to email the relevant blogs and get them to update their existing article with my SEO tips article. And I want to remove anything that's not a backlink. I want to remove anything that's not a backlink opportunity, that's not a blog, and then make sure that I only have one link per domain. So I'm starting with 228 entries, and the first thing I would like to do is filter out any domains that contain an IP and remove any URLs that are more than 150 characters because it's probably a spammy type of article. In this case, there were no results, so I'm just going to proceed. The next thing I'm going to look at is filter specific TLDs. So my campaigns are English speaking only. Therefore, I want to remove a TLD is like the .com, the .net, .org. It's whatever your domain ends with. That's what a TLD is. So we've created this section here. And if I go by country, English, non-English, I'm going to remove anything that's non-English. Uh, and then for sponsor, I select all of these, mostly just to remove the edus and .govs. For generic, I I hand select the ones that I want to remove because I think they're lower quality. That's .biz, .info, and .xyz. So now I'm going to click remove domains, and I like to check my results to make sure I'm not removing anything that is actually a good opportunity. Like sometimes a domain will use non-English TLDs just to be like unique. They might use a .ai or a .ly or a .st. In this case, I see a .fcclc. This is actually an English blog, so I'm going to keep that one. That means I uncheck that one, and I confirm that the rest will be removed. Also, when you're doing outreach, I like to remove the really, really high-end sites. And the way we identify really high-end sites easily is we use Ahrefs top million sites criteria. So I like to remove the top 10,000 sites from their Ahrefs top million. So if any of the domains in my URL list are matching, they'll be removed. So you can see things like Neil Patel, Opt-in Monster, Backlinko are being removed. You can play around with this number however you like. I think 5,000 or 10,000 is a good barometer. I'm going to confirm these to remove. You could also keep a few if you feel that it's not going to be as hard as the others. But like stuff like Forbes, Medium, YouTube, a lot of irrelevant kind of stuff gets removed. Next up, filter by domains. The fact is, when you're looking at a URL list, a lot of non-opportunity sites can get into the mix, like sites that create duplicate content, like Medium and Inbound and Outbrain, or directory sites, forum sites, Web 2.0 sites, social media profile sites. We went ahead and collected thousands and thousands of different websites. We put them into these categories, and then you're able to bulk remove these domains. Another step that I like to do during this step is I like to export my own backlinks for whatever domain I'm building links for. And I like to enter those into the custom sites. So in this example, these are all of my backlinks for Linkio. I entered them here. I'm going to remove these domains. We have 10 matches. These are all things that we can now remove. Next, I'm going to filter sites by domain string. Now, oftentimes you can identify irrelevant sites because like maybe it's named like marketingdirectory.com, marketingforum.com. If it contains that type of thing in the domain name, we've also pre-identified things that contain that. Also, certain subdirectories that aren't really relevant, or staging sites, or things where you wouldn't really get a link, like a course or help or support kind of subdomain. You can remove those in bulk. We have a few here. You see this one is a forum. You see this one is a news site. News sites are harder in general. Sometimes I like to deselect the news site because it tends to remove too many relevant opportunities. So you can play around with the settings here. And magazine, this one I actually think seems okay. So in this case, I would uncheck it and move on. Getting closer to the end here, in this initial step, we filtered by domain string. Well, now we can filter by the rest of the URL. So things that come after the domain name. Here you can also identify forum URLs, news sites, directories, spam sites, because they have things like the word coupon, deals, domain. Or you can identify like duplicate pages of a blog. If you're looking for like the best URL per domain, then oftentimes URLs that contain a word like category in it or tag in it, they're actually duplicates. So you can bulk remove these types of things here. You can see this is a podcast episode. This is a podcast episode. It doesn't really make sense to get a link from a podcast summary because you're not featured on the podcast. For SEO blog, this one I might keep. And these last two are actually like a combined action. Oftentimes a URL list will contain multiple URLs from the same domain. However, oftentimes it's if you're doing a link insertion campaign or you're trying to reference an article in the cold email, you don't want to remove the most appropriate URL from the list. So the way you can train the tool to keep certain URLs over others is to give a priority to what's in the URL. So here I have an SEO tips article. I'm going to say I want SEO-tips in the article as first priority. As a second priority, I want the word SEO, at least SEO. And then if there's none of those, at least have the word blog in the URL. So it's most likely the blog post and not like some extra category page or a service page, something like that. So after you do that successfully, in the next section, you can say how many URLs per domain should be kept. I'm just going to keep one. That means these three are getting removed. And now we've completed our action. And I'm down to 136 opportunities from my original 228. So I was talking you through that, so it took a little longer, but if you're just working through this, in just minutes, you can eliminate almost half of your opportunities and just focus on the ones that are going to be most valuable. From here, you can export the CSV. You can even export the original list, and it'll add a column that says kept and removed. You can do that by the click add as all CSV or just copy to clipboard and push this to wherever you need it. So there's the quick tutorial. Good luck with your prospecting. Thank you.